Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another video. It's that time of the weekend. It's Premier League predictions time. We are 3/4 games away from the end of the season, and of course things are beginning to look a little clearer as to what people will be celebrating or not celebrating come the end of the campaign. Last week you already saw one team confirmed as to being relegated. One team has seemingly dropped out the title race. It's a two-horse title race right now, and the relegation battle and the places for Europe are heating up massively. So, of course, this is going to be an intense last few weeks for the Premier League. Before we get into all of the predictions in which we talk about the games, analyse them, and of course predict them, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section as well. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That'll make for great interesting reading, I'm sure, down below. But without further ado, let's get on with the predictions, people. Give me your predictions down below, of course. It will be greatly appreciated. This is a Premier League predictions video after all, people. But we are starting with Luton Town against Everton, and I've gone with a 2-1 Everton win. Everton have had a bit of a bounce in the past couple of weeks. Big results that have seen them confirm their Premier League status for yet another season. Sean Dyche has performed extremely well, to say that obviously he's been hit with a couple of points deductions in between, and of course been dealt with other issues as well, mainly being Everton manager. But no, they've had a couple of good weeks. Now, maybe the threat of relegation that's now wore off may obviously turn Everton's end of season to being a bit more of a more casual affair. Maybe Everton not playing for anything now will mean that they maybe take their foot off the pedal a little bit. And that could obviously work in Luton's favour. Of course, Luton are still battling relegation. They're still trying to save their season. And of course, with them having something to play for, maybe that will give them the incentive to go on and get something from this game. However, whilst we know that Luton can be extremely difficult at home, and whilst we know that they will fight for everything and anything that they already have done for this season, maybe it's a little bit too late for Luton. Maybe Everton will want to finish their season off on as big of a high as possible and see how far this winning run can take them. That's why I've gone with an Everton 2-1 win. That's why I've gone with the Toffees to get the 3 points. But I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if the Hatters manage to get something from this game, given the fact that they have the incentive to go out and get something. Everton, though, will be tough. Everton will fancy their chances on the counter. They'll fancy their chances from set pieces. It could be a very intriguing battle nonetheless. Next up, Arsenal against Bournemouth. I've gone with a 2-0 win to Arsenal. Now, this isn't nothing against Bournemouth. This is just simply because Arsenal are solid. I know that last time out they conceded 2 goals to Tottenham, but they were probably the best types of goals to concede. A penalty and a huge mistake from David Raya. Now, Bournemouth, with Dom Solanke, they play some good football, and of course Solanke's enjoying his best season in the Premier League. He's been absolutely fantastic this season. They do have their threats going forward. However, I just don't see them being able to keep out Arsenal's, particularly when Martin Odegaard is in the form that he is. He is just being an absolute wizard right now in that attacking midfield role, being the playmaker, being the puppeteer, pulling all the strings. Whatever kind of phrase you want to call it, Odegaard is in the form of his life right now. And I think that they will manage to break down what should be a pretty stubborn Bournemouth defence, whilst also neutralising them for the most part in the attacking third as well. I also think that with Bournemouth not having to play for much, their season's pretty much safe and sound. It will be something of an incentive for Arsenal to chase. And I think with them being at home, with the season drawing to a close, and with obviously Manchester City still holding all the cards in the title race, it will just be an opportunity to apply pressure onto Pep Guardiola's side for when they play their games in hand. It will be after this game is obviously done and dusted. So I've gone with an Arsenal 2-0 victory. I think this will be one of the more favourable ones to call this weekend. But like I say, for Bournemouth, they do have their threats, but I just don't see it being enough to topple Mikel Arteta's side. Next up, we have got Brentford against Fulham. And I've gone with a 1-0 win to Brentford here. They're not these two teams, it's like a dead rubber game, this. There's not really much for these teams to fight for. Brentford, safe and sound. Fulham, safe and sound. But as we know, these two teams will probably want the season to be over. It's not exactly been the best of seasons for them. For both of these sides, it's been a bit of a drop-off from last season. And so I don't really know which way to call this, to be honest. This could either be one of those games in which both teams just enjoy it, throw caution to the wind, and we end up getting like a 5-5 kind of scenario. Or it could be one of these very dull games that ends up, as I predicted here, a 1-0 to either side. We know that obviously Fulham can turn up and cause problems, but we also know Brentford can turn up and cause problems. I've given Brentford the slight edge and the slight advantage here because they are at home. But I'm expecting a very entertaining, awkward game, if you know what I mean. I think it's going to be awkward in terms of maybe a bit nervy, a bit... not necessarily nervy, considering both teams got nothing to play for, but a bit, lacking of full quality. I think there'll be moments, I think there'll be some good build-up play, but it will lack a clinical edge in the final third. And I think defensively there could be some slip-ups as well. That will only add to that. So that's my kind of prediction for this overall game. It could be an interesting one to call, considering both teams, like I say, are not fighting for anything, so there could be a bit of caution being thrown to the wind here, or, like I say, it could be a very dull or nervy or weirdly awkward kind of 1-0 victory to either side here. Not really sure what to make of this game, to be honest, but there you have it. 1-0 to Brentford is my prediction. Next up, Burnley against Newcastle, and I'm on with a 2-2 draw here. I think Burnley can take something from this Newcastle side. We know that obviously Newcastle are playing for European football. We know that Burnley are playing for their lives down at the bottom of the table to try and survive relegation. Both teams playing for something could offer a very intriguing game, unlike the Fulham-Brentford game that I mentioned earlier. But I'm interested with this one because Burnley have actually picked up quite a few decent points in recent weeks, and they've actually put together maybe a potential great escape type scenario. Obviously, they'll need to turn some of those draws into wins, and obviously I don't necessarily see it happening here against a Newcastle side who we know are not the best away from home, but have improved as the season's gone on. I think Burnley will get something from this game. We know the way that Burnley will play will possibly play into Newcastle's hands. We know that obviously with Alexander Isak in the form of his life, he's going to be a major threat to Burnley. But with the way that Burnley play, they will get their chances, and it's about whether or not Burnley will take those chances. It could be a very interesting end to the season for Burnley. A loss here, though, will pretty much cement them as going down. But yeah, it could be a very intriguing battle here. It could be a very intriguing battle for both of these sides, which is why I've gone with a Desmond 2-2 draw. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this game. I think it could be very intriguing come 3 o'clock Saturday when these two teams battle it out at Turf Moor. Next up, Sheffield United against Nottingham Forest. Now, this is a major opportunity for Nottingham Forest to get 3 points on the board and to aid their survival bid. Massive for them. They're coming up against an already relegated Sheffield United side, which is never ever a foregone conclusion of a win, by the way. We know that relegated sides can often spring a surprise, particularly when the pressure's off and they've got nothing left to play for, to fight for, other than pride. So this could always be a bit of a banana skin for Nottingham Forest. Having said that, I will expect Nottingham Forest to win. I would expect Nottingham Forest to have the quality, particularly in the final third, to get the job done. Excuse me. To get the job done, to get the 3 points, to get over the finish line, and to obviously heap more pressure onto the likes of Luton and Burnley that are obviously fighting relegation below them. So I think this is a massive opportunity for Forest. But let me tell you, it's not a foregone conclusion. It is a banana skin. It is a potential banana skin in waiting that an already relegated side with nothing left to play for, nothing left to lose, would throw caution to the wind and would just go for it. Of course, there is a potential opportunity here for Sheffield United to concede over 100 goals in the Premier League season this year. But that is a story in of itself if that actually does come true in this game. So A lot of narrative, a lot of storyline here, a lot of intrigue as well, but something that Nottingham Forest should have no problem in winning at the very least, and getting over the line, getting the 3 points. But yeah, like I say, just be a bit cautious, Forest fans. Just be a bit cautious. That's my only warning. Brighton against Aston Villa is our next game of focus at the Amex Stadium, and I've gone with a 2-0 win to Aston Villa. Aston Villa looking to confirm their status in the Champions League football for next season in the top 4. The only issue that I will see Aston Villa having is that obviously with playing midweek, Villa are in, of course, Europa Conference League commitments. It could obviously play on the legs of those players and they could throw away this game. Of course, being so close to Champions League football, you would probably hope and expect that Villa get the job done, get across the finish line. But of course, it is not done and dusted and settled in cement just yet. It could be a very intriguing game. We know the way that Brighton like to play. They have fallen off a cliff, though, in recent weeks. They've absolutely hit rock bottom, it seems, under Roberto De Zerbi. The football is still kind of there, but the results are not. And defensively, they are looking a bit shaky and fragile. And in the attacking sense, they are not looking as clinical as what they once were. And Aston Villa can certainly take advantage of that. When you look at the likes of the players that they have at their disposal, the likes of your Leon Baileys, your Moussa Diabys, your Ollie Watkinses, you know, it's pretty obvious that they will definitely fancy their chances. Should, of course, they be playing those types of players, it's going to be interesting to see the rotation of Unai Emery for these 2 games that I've got coming up. They're massive in terms of Aston Villa's season. So it's going to be a very intriguing scenario, to say the least. I've gone with 2-0 Aston Villa. I'm not entirely confident by it, depending on obviously the team news and everything. But I think Villa, either way, will get the job done. So I've gone with Villa to win by 2-0 here and secure the 3 points. Next up, Chelsea against West Ham. I really don't know what to call this one because I don't know really what kind of side these 2 teams are going to put out. Don't really know what kind of game plan they're going to put out. I think for Chelsea, it's all about trying to finish the season off on a high and get into European football is still a possibility no matter what kind of level it's going to be. So I think that's still a possibility for the Blues, and I think that will give them the extra incentive in this game. For West Ham, I would say the same. But of course, I've got no idea which kind of side these 2 teams will play. West Ham, we know, can be difficult on their day, but can also be shocking on another. And Chelsea, in the context of this season, pretty much the same. Pretty much the same for Chelsea. They picked up a 2-2 draw last week against Aston Villa, which was decent, seemingly, for the way that they came back from 2 goals down. But we know that they can be there for the taking. I don't know which way this game is going to go. I think if West Ham are disciplined and they are solid defensively, they just sit back in a low block, they can really thwart and neutralise Chelsea in the attacking areas, because we know that Chelsea struggle sometimes against low block sides. And then if they are clinical on the counter-attack, we know that West Ham can definitely get something from this game, similarly to what they did last week in the 2-2 draw that they picked up with Liverpool. So I think that if West Ham are to play the way that they normally play, I would probably say that West Ham gets something from this game. But yeah, the onus is really on Chelsea here to go out and get the win. So as much as the pressure is on Chelsea, I see it ending in a draw and calling it down the middle as 1-1. But like I say, I'm never normally good at predicting Chelsea results, to be honest with you. So this could be anything. Next up, in any other week of match day action, this would probably be the main event and the biggest game of this round of fixtures, Liverpool versus Tottenham. However, with the context of both of these 2 seasons sort of phasing out and, you know, kind of being extinguished, it doesn't really make for that much of an interesting game. Like, it will still be interesting on paper, and it will still be interesting in terms of how big it is in the context of Liverpool versus Tottenham. But considering that Liverpool are not playing for anything now, considering that their season's pretty much over, mathematically it's still possible to, of course, obtain a Premier League title, but not realistically. And whilst Tottenham's season, you know, still has the potential of reaching the top 4, again, you probably would expect Aston Villa to maybe make the most of their games that they have left as well, and to obviously make it more count than Spurs. So here we are, Liverpool versus Tottenham at Anfield. I've gone with a 2-2 draw in this one. Now, I see there being goals in this one, even though Liverpool have struggled in recent weeks to score goals, even though Tottenham are Tottenham, I still expect them to score plenty of goals, because Liverpool's defence is poor and Tottenham's defence is playing a very high line, which I think Liverpool can exploit, and I think Liverpool will love to exploit. I think the likes of Darwin Núñez and Mohamed Salah, despite the fact that they're not in the most clinical of form right now, will of course be still very dangerous in exploiting that high line of Spurs, unless of course Spurs adapt their playing style, drop a few yards, and then they can really frustrate Liverpool. Unlike last week against West Ham, Liverpool found it difficult to break down a stubborn and solidly defensive structure in West Ham. This week they will be facing a higher line in Tottenham, and I think that will create goals. Now, if I had to pick a winner, I would probably say Liverpool, because on their day, on a split second, they can obviously just turn up like that. They can. As much as we haven't seen it in recent weeks, we know that the likes of Mohamed Salah and even Darwin Núñez to an extent can obviously have a field day in front of this back line of Spurs. And as we know, earlier on in the season, this game caused much controversy with the very well documented Luis Diaz goal, which was ruled offside when it should have been given and allowed for Liverpool because he was onside. So we know that there is an extra incentive here for Liverpool to go on and get revenge on Tottenham for what was a very solid defensive display by Liverpool for the most part, that only resulted in Spurs winning thanks to a Joel Matip own goal. A lot of incentive, a lot of revenge on the mind, a lot to get retribution on, and overall just a lot to try and fill the season out with pride in what is the last few games of Jurgen Klopp's season. So yeah, there's still a lot riding on this game to an extent, but obviously I'm not putting out any hope that this is gonna change Liverpool's season. It's very unlikely that City and Arsenal are going to lose their remaining games. So yeah, it's a bit of a dead rubber, this one, but I think there will be more incentive for Spurs to obviously try and go for Aston Villa in the last few couple of games of the season. But yeah, I've gone with a 2-2 draw here. I think there will be goals. I'm going to be interested to see how both teams line up. It's going to be interesting. Next up, Crystal Palace against Manchester United. And I've gone with a 2-1 win to Crystal Palace here. I think with the recent form of Crystal Palace, I know that this game is pretty much a dead rubber as well, with only Manchester United maybe possibly going to go after a European place for next season. I still think Palace will get the job done. I think Palace are in a really good run of form right now, and the incentive for them towards the end of the season is to obviously give the Palace fans something to look forward to for next season. And I think under Oliver Glasner, I think with how they've gone about their business in the past few weeks, with the form of Mateta in particular, I think they can really give United a run for their money on Monday night. So I've gone with a 2-1 win to Crystal Palace. I think they'll get the job done, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think that the only way that United will get something from this game is through moments. As we know, United do tend to rely on moments. So I've gone with Palace to win, 2-1 for Oliver Glasner's side, and I think they are going to continue to end the season in good fashion and to obviously give them some hope of what they can expect for next season. I think it is a decent run for Palace this. So yeah, I've gone with Palace to win on Monday night. And finally, what I believe to be the biggest main event, the biggest game of this round of fixtures, we're jumping back to Saturday night. It is Manchester City taking on Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I see a 3-1 victory to Manchester City playing out on Saturday evening. Look, we know that Wolves can be tough opposition for the big sides. We know that they've saved their best performances for the bigger sides in this competition. But I think with the way that City are playing right now, with the way that they are just squarely focused on the Premier League, as you would expect them to, with that being the only competition they have left until, of course, the FA Cup final, it's got to be City. It's got to be a City win. And of course, with the title race being as close as what it is, with obviously Arsenal being able to put pressure on City with having played the extra game and to obviously play before them as well on Saturday, you probably would expect City to respond in a huge way, and that huge way is going to be by beating Wolves here. Wolves, nothing to play for. They're safe and sound, middle of the road kind of finish, a good season to build upon for Gary O'Neill. But like I say, this should be City's for the taking. And if they don't City, if it is a banana skin that they're going to fall upon, you can probably kiss the title goodbye, which would be pretty interesting for Pep Guardiola's side if that was to be the case. I don't necessarily think so. But, it could be interesting if obviously that was to happen. But I would expect with City, the form of the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden, and who I expect to be back from his absence, and obviously Erling Haaland getting back on the score sheet last week, I would probably expect City to get the job done in their usual sort of way. So City to win by 3-1 is what I've gone for here, but it's never a foregone conclusion. We know that City's defence is kind of fragile. We know that Wolves turn up against the better teams. So I'm expecting an interesting game here, but one that I would expect Wolves to lose, City to win, and to put more pressure on Arsenal as the season running continues. And there you have it. Those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all the Premier League games to come up this weekend? Another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures. Let me know down below in the comment section your thoughts, your comments, opinions. But most of all, of course, let me know your predictions. This is a Premier League predictions video after all, people. So let me know your predictions down below. Would love to hear from you all on that. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video. And I'll see you speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.